Well, we're about to kickstart Nigeria's economy impact on the renewed hope agenda. Just as reports have shown that Nigeria's inflation rate eased to a fifth straight month in August, which was helped by a slowdown in food inflation. We have the indices where it was dropped to 21.87% from the 22.74% of the previous months. And of course, the Naira float, appreciable stability that accompanied it, from mid-June to early August, a spread of 8 weeks, where we had a tight range, of the Naira to the dollar having about 1,520 to 1,537, with just some fluctuations of about 2 to 3 Naira daily in some cases. Well, but this only took place mid-June to August, and then September, boom, it went up again. Well, let's see how that goes, because some have said the economy of the country, like what the president has said, is on a good page, is in the right direction. Well, some say you don't need to blow your trumpet, let others blow it for you. And joining me to really dissect and analyze this, breaking it down, is my guest in the studio, and he is a political analyst and one-time SSA to the governor of Edo State on politics, I guess. And of course, he is Shadrach Udugbai. Good to have you join me, Shadrach.
Good morning, Mr. Philip. The pleasure is mine. Good morning, my good people at home.
All right, it's a good time to put some shocking waves on this morning on ITV, as we're also going to be joined by a very seasoned political analyst and a social media influencer from the United States. We usually disturb his sleep a little bit whenever it's TMI. And big thanks for joining me, Ahmed Mamadou. You look great on screen today.
Thank you, Philip. I was expecting you, so I put in my best look. And I greet my local man, my friend over there in the as well as the viewers watching from home.
And we hope that this your firm face wouldn't be roughened at the end of this discussion.
Oh, no, we are only doing...
All right, so joining us still on Zoom, we have a lecturer from the Abruzale University, Ekpoma, and he is also a political economist, Ibrahim Momo. We'll be bringing you as we're able to get connectivity, Ibrahim Momo will be joining us. Now, let's quickly hit the road. And back to you, Ahmed. We're looking at the figures here where official reports showed inflation easing off for a fifth straight month in August, year in, year on. And of course, we had this being slowed by food inflation, where we had a drop, in food inflation from 22.7% to 21.87%. I don't know what you feel about that, because it has been peddled by the presidency that the economy is on the right page, going towards economic prosperity. And of course, we look at the Naira float. And do you see this as a development that can be sustained, most especially, coinciding it with the statement credited to the former vice president of the country, Atiku Abubakar, who was also the presidential candidate of the PDP 2023 presidential election, that spoke about hunger in the land and, of course, the need for the government to, do the needful. What do you make of all of this? Is there really hope as being instituted by the renewed hope agenda of the presidency?
Again, thank you, Philip, for inviting me, and greetings again to our viewers at home. Let me quote 2 recent things that have happened. In 2025, when Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who is currently the Director General of the WTO, in 2025, she said Nigeria is borrowing to pay salaries. Nigeria was borrowing to pay salaries. Now, in 2025, she comes back again, and what does she say this time? She says President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has put Nigeria on the right track for progress and sustainability. Now, there are 2 issues here. Nobody is saying that we have reached El Dorado. Nobody is saying that things are not difficult. Nobody is saying that food is hard to find. Nobody is saying that a lot of our population are barely making ends meet. What we are saying essentially is that based on the promises and the situation that Nigeria was when this administration took over, they are making progress. We are making progress as a nation. Bear in mind, Philip, that President Tinubu inherited a budget that had already cancelled fuel subsidy. So his announcement of the fact of the cancellation was simply an after fact. Any of the other persons who had won would have come to the same announcement and the same conclusion. And they had some areas of communality. They had the removal of subsidy. They had power sector reforms. They had security. And they said there were poverty alleviation. So there were areas of commonality. But what we have found is that the problem was even worse than we saw. The most pressing problem that Nigeria had was the dual exchange rate that was making nonsense of economic planning and indices. And that has been corrected by and large. So what you are seeing now is a year-on-year, month-on-month reduction in the inflation. This is not to say that, like I said, El Dorado has been reached, but definitely there is progress on the promises that have been made. And then we need to keep on pushing. We need to keep on putting their fingers to the iron and say, you can do better. You can alleviate the pains and sufferings of the people. You can provide social cushions, etc., etc. But the government is doing more. Subnational governments too need to focus more on their own areas of operation so that the whole country is moving forward at the same time. Again, we are not saying that things are not difficult. We are not saying that people are not suffering. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel if we continue to follow these economic prospects that we are seeing materializing in the figures that you have just mentioned.
Ahmed, but let's see if what you said will be corroborated by Shadrach Udugbai. Obviously not. Let's get on flip side.
I want to say there will be light at the end of the tunnel. But that's if it's a tunnel. What if it's a toilet? There's no light at the end of the toilet. Because what we see this president doing is, I don't know, do we need to explain policies? You come out with a policy for economic growth and development. And after you implement, after 1 year, 2 years, you now come and explain the result to us. The people say they are not seeing it. And you make them look as though they are not anchored on reality. They have no basis for complaint. And you don't just make provisions. He said Tinubu inherited a fuel subsidy, a budget that already removed fuel subsidy. But the question I ask you, who do you not credit the removal of fuel subsidy to? Do you credit to Buhari or to Bola Ahmed Tinubu? You see, they want to inherit the asset, want to push away the liability. He spoke about power reforms. There are many things that are wrong with this government, very seriously. You know, for me, when they were power reforms, today Nigeria has the highest number of people living with electricity across the world, living without electricity across the world. Nigeria has witnessed more failure in national grid these 2 years that Bola Ahmed Tinubu was the president than any 4-year tenure of any past president. And this same government has invested so much, millions and millions of dollars in repositioning the Nigerian electricity project. And whether you like it or not, this same president came on board while he was campaigning and said if he had not given electricity in 4 years, when I come back again, vote me out. Was he singing the same song? Because they just feel that the Nigerian people they don't have the capacity to determine who will be the next president or the next governor. Because if Tinubu knows that the people will decide who will come back in 2027, he will not be leading the way he's leading. He spoke about security. I just love when you make all of this allusion. Because me, one of the hopes I haven't had, despite the fact I never believed in Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that the man will be able to make some strategic interventions in security, because I felt, maybe this whole thing had taken an ethnic paradigm that Buhari was relatively complacent. He didn't want to be seen the one fighting his own kinsmen. Perhaps when we have a Jagaban, a man to a large extent who has a strong political starch, who is solid, who is not perhaps who does not cow to the whims and caprices of other political elites, that will be able to make decisive arrangements, make strong decisions, and move against insecurity, put an end to Boko Haram and all of those insurgencies. But when we entered office, we saw that the man became totally complacent. The thing moved from bad to worse. And I began to wonder, what exactly is the rationale? Yeah. What exactly is this man doing to ensure that these issues of insecurity is even abated? Today, Nigerian police, we have about 370,000 police officers covering the whole of Nigeria, 30 states. And we are about 220 million people. And I bet inside that 370,000 policemen, about 1/3 of them have been attached to political office holders and VIPs. If you remove 30% of those 370,000, that leaves you about 240,000
okay.
policemen. That shows you that an average Nigerian, 1,000 Nigerians are being protected by one police.
Oh,
That's if the police work 24 hours a day.
Yeah,
if you not say they share ration it's like one policeman to
Shedrack,
like
you still have the floor, but I want you to speak to the issues. Because we have reports here from mid-June to early August where we had some Naira stability on the Naira float. You know, and of course we had a tight range where about from 1,520 to 1,537 the Naira to the dollar was appreciably stable for 8 weeks. And then you look at the drop in inflation. Are you forgetting that fact? Let's not shy away from that. Don't you see this as what he rightly said, as a light at the end of the tunnel?
I think there's no tunnel. What I'm trying to tell you is this. When you say stability, wait, what's your definition of stability? If we peg dollar now at 2,000 naira and it remains like that for 5 years, is that what you define as stability? Something that is not affordable, you put it at a price that's not affordable and you leave it there permanently and you say we should be excited. Is that where we ought to be? Nigerian naira is now far less than the Ghana cedis and we are struggling to even meet needs. We are borrowing currencies to for investment, return for investment is at worst time low. Expenditure by capita is. So let us understand where we are. If they give us statistics, we should look at the impact of that statistics.
So what you're saying is that the appreciation is not significant.
Stability. Are you talking about it going up or going down? It's stable. It's stable at a price we cannot afford. It's stability. Of what use it is. When dollar is available but it's not affordable, it's not useful to have in Nigeria. It does not. It even reflect the pains. Because I speak today now. On average, if the dollar is 1,500 now, Nigeria poverty has increased because the global standard is that nobody should live about a particular amount of dollar per day. But Nigerians can't even meet that. It's like saying Nigeria's minimum wage has been increased to 70,000. The question I ask is that when they started this move for minimum wage increment to 70,000, how much was the bag of rice? Bag of rice about 30,000 naira. Now bag of rice is about 60,000 naira, and then I quickly improved the minimum wage to 70,000 naira. Back to it was than what it was before. People who started work so many years ago, their salary was about 40,000 naira. They were able to buy dollar. About 150 naira per dollar at bigger sums. So if you look at now, you see that where they are working more, they are earning less in dollar. So that we're not talking about the issue of stability. Are we stupid? You talk about inflation. If you understand what inflation is, you know that this thing is not something that we should be calling statistics about 22.8 to 21.7, 0.9 decrease. Inflation means that what you used to buy 100 naira before, what was 100 naira before this government came on board, is now 128 naira. And now it reduces to 121.7 naira. You say I should begin to celebrate. When the man saw it at 100 naira and took it to increase our pains to this level, and you say we should not be celebrating. On what basis we are not celebrate? When people saw it at 100 naira, it's supposed to strive to say it goes back to 90 naira or 80 naira. Yet it's at 120 naira I should be celebrating. All those statistics are cheap statistics. That's what the government is doing. They will bring out the clueless policies that has no reflection on the yearnings aspiration of the people. They come back to us and they go and they go and manipulate the statistics and come and shove it in our face because they think we do not understand what is happening in reality. But what I want to clear state is that this government has its plan laid. The renewable agenda is clear. I don't know why we need to even be explaining it. The renewable agenda is to weaponize poverty. That's why when the man came on board, without any making calculated plans to say this is what exactly going to be do, he just said first subsidy gone, and transportation rose up, jacked up almost immediately, and poverty was enthroned. Okay. Beyond that, you see, are we going to talk about the borrowing? You want to talk borrowing of this government? We talk about borrowing. See, in as much as I recognize the fact that public debt can be a tool where properly managed for growth and development, I also recognize that if left unchecked, it can be a burden to economic stability and also a danger to the welfare of future generations. In that singular arrangement, this government will be borrowing recklessly, helplessly, and endlessly. And you know, when you borrow from this World Bank, you borrow from IMF. When he spoke about Kojiwala, I just laughed. Those people represent the establishment. When you borrow from them, they will tell you how to spend the money. They will not ask you to spend the money on key sectors that will grow your economy, because the international community wants Nigeria to remain a dumping site where they will bring their finished goods and will going to buy and will going to sell oil. They want Nigeria to remain dependent. They want Nigeria to remain hellbound. Okay. So when they bring their resources back, they tell us how to spend it, their conditions. Okay, so that even the Chinese laws is not different. Where you build infrastructure, but all the instructions in the machines, all the tools, all the notices, they are all written in China. So when they give you the machines to install the infrastructure, you cannot run it with Nigeria. You have to go and bring Chinese people to come and be running it. Is that development?
Well, let's come back to you, Ahmed. Let's look at what he said, what Shedrack said. There seems to be a very big gap, a big gulf. If you can hear me, Ahmed, you know, we have situations where when the president came on board, we can't but still talk about this fuel subsidy removal. Don't you see the fuel subsidy removal as, you know, militating against the priorities of the renewed hope agenda? Because we still have prices of commodities, going up every day. And just recently, the president was saying that he wants to intervene, in cutting down the prices of food items in the marketplaces, which some would say is crude to do. And again, can you see the sustainability on the priorities that the renewed hope agenda comes with towards the end of the administration of President Bola Tinubu?
Oh, thank you, Philip. So essentially, you talked about the subsidy and the food stuff. So let me quickly address the local man and correct some misconceptions I had. Even a clock that is dead will be right twice in a day. And he was right when he said there is a lot of debt. He's also right when he said that these debts are targeted towards infrastructural development. Where he's wrong is to say that they are not necessary. Now, one of the pillars of the Renewed Hope agenda was infrastructural development, housing and urban development, and political and institutional reforms. You've seen the Lagos Calabar Rail Coastal Road. You've seen the Lagos Sokoto Coastal Road. You've seen the railways. You've seen the improvement. I think I was on your show the last time. We talked about how the airports are being expanded. We talked about how the seaports are being dredged and etc. etc. So these are
please, I'm afraid I have to halt you there, but we will be coming back after this short break. You continue from where you left off. Do stay. Thank you, State TMI, and we're going back to Ahmed Mamadou to continue from where he left off. But quickly, as a guide, Ahmed, you were talking about infrastructural development. And of course, we understand the fact that there's what we call the long-term and of course the short-term fix it. Nigeria, as we speak, needs a short-term fix. What could be the direction of government policies in fixing the hunger, the starvation in the country? So I want you to tow it along that line.
So to quickly round up on what I was saying, all that we have seen now coming together of the renewed hope agenda, the infrastructural development, the debts, and etc. etc. So now go along the line. You pointed out some very important statistics. You said for the past 3 months, inflation has been reducing month to month to month. Now there are very direct factors that we can attribute this to. One of them is Dangote Refinery. Dangote Refinery, this is also where we can educate local man a little bit. Dangote Refinery has reduced our exports of oil. So we now have local capacity where we can refine and distribute those things. So some of the pressure on the dollar that was there previously has now reduced. That's what you've seen in the last few months. So with Dangote coming on stream and filling up the gaps in all those places, you see the pressure easing on the dollar. And as other things that the government is doing continue to work, we hope for the best for the country. We will never hope wrong. And then these things will continue to show the ease on the dollar. To the question you asked about the subsidy and the subsidy removal, like I pointed out, it was the legislature that removed subsidy on petroleum products, and this administration has been finding a way to substitute the subsidy on petroleum products with other subsidies. That's what you mentioned when you said president came out and said he was trying to find ways to bring down the cost of foodstuff and everything. There's no economy that works without some kind of subsidy. The economy in America here works with massive subsidies. Federal government here subsidizes farmers to the extent that we run into hundreds of billions of dollars in subsidy. So if the president works out a way where there's food subsidy of some sort, that's not a bad thing. Then there's also transportation subsidy. And if you remember, I think you even mentioned it the other time, there's also the student loan. And then there are small loans that the government has been working on, small business loans, agri loans, and so on and so forth. So it is a holistic thing. It's not just focusing on one side of it. An economy is not something that you can just jumpstart immediately or stop immediately and it works. It takes time and there's a lot of pain. This is not an argument for our people suffering. Government must be put on its feet to continue to do the best. But to say they are not doing what they should be doing is wrong. Let me also address quickly what he said about power sector reforms. Now, the issue why we have constant grid failure is not because there is no capacity. The installed capacity is more than the distribution capacity. Those are two different ends. Even if you are making 1,000 megawatts and you can only distribute 2,500 megawatts, you are always going to have a problem. So in fact, the grid failure that you are seeing is actually a sign of success. It simply means that we are generating more than we can distribute. So if you are trying to distribute 10,000 megawatts in only 2,500 poles and electricity transformers, that's why you have these constant grid failures. Let us try and look at some of the positives once in a while and not always focus on the negatives. There are challenges, there's criticism, there are things that need to be done better, but we need to give kudos where kudos is deserved. That is my own take on the issue.
Well, thank you. You still have the floor. Let's quickly get back to what you said earlier as regards the student loan and, of course, other opportunities that have come with the Renewed Hope agenda. But don't you think that is even a loan, not a grant? So should we be celebrating that? Most especially when you look at the huge chunk that is being taken from the people as a result of fuel subsidy removal. You spoke about massive, subsidies, that the American government is embarking on for its people. But again, if you juxtapose that with what we have here, you almost be grounded to even say there may not be subsidy, or anything being subsidized by the government of the day. And again, you look at the SMEs, you also look at the teen bank account policy, that is being rolled out in the month of January next year, 2026. And this again comes with another headache where some are saying that it's a way of increasing revenue for the government, revenue that may not be judiciously deployed for the people's benefit. What do you make in all of this? Is this just a mirage?
Okay, so Philip, you've really boxed me into a lot of questions, but I'll do my best to see if I can walk quickly through all of it. So what you said, and I agree with you 100%, let me say that from the beginning, is that these loans should have been in forms of grants instead of loans. I agree with you, but there has to be a framework. There has to be some kind of working. If it is new, we need to try as much as possible to get it to as many people as possible and see what comes back. At a certain point in time, the government may decide, okay, we are able to afford some of these loans, we can convert them to grants. Let's not forget that there are also scholarships, there are also other forms of loans that the states and others too give to their students. So we need to the focus has been too much on the national government. We need to come to the sub-national government. Let's use Edo State, for example. There is more money coming to Edo State. We need to meet the governor and say, give our students loans, give indigenous loans, give out small farmers loans. Let us put this money to good use. Let us disburse it. These are ways that we can increase citizen participation in governance and make sure that it's not only the government that is working. You mentioned where the source of loans for agribusiness. We have agricultural banks, although some of their conditions are stringent. Let me put that out there. But they also ask for cooperatives because they want to see how people work together to increase their own economic well-being. So there are all sorts of loans. Now, there's a place where you can ask the question, is government doing enough to let people know that these things are available? No, they are not. And this is also another area that we need to highlight and tell them. Come out and tell people what is available, what the substitutes are, where they can access these loans. Another way is to say, through the subnational governments, through the state governments, we can access XYZ loans on bulk areas and talk about either zonal, according to senatorial districts, whatever. These are also areas where subsidy can be employed. Then you also mentioned the TIN. Now, the TIN policy, the committee came out the other day and said, as far as they are concerned, as far as the new tax policy is concerned, the TIN does not impose any additional constraints on people that are currently operating bank accounts. Why? Because there's a double redundancy. If you have a BVN, that also serves. If you have the NIS, I believe it's NIN, if you have the NIN, that also serves. But the TIN is mostly for people who are doing businesses. Now, understand this. Most people that are doing businesses already have TIN incorporated into the banking sector. So essentially, it is nothing new. But what they came out and said is that your account will not be closed if you do not have a TIN. Let me bring some good news to you. I don't know if you are aware. The CBN just recently announced that people in the diaspora, such as myself, who don't have accounts, can now open accounts because they have what they called it the foreign non-resident bank verification number. So that allows a certain amount of imports. Let's call it the import of money from the diaspora that has been in the informal sector before. Now, what it means is that I can send money to an account that I open from here, put the money, convert it into Naira, and then disburse it as I please. You are going to see just by this, when India enacted this same policy, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, they saw their diaspora remittances increase by almost 300%. Because there are people who are stuck here that cannot come back home because of distance, paperwork, etc., what have you. They cannot come back home to open accounts. Now, with this new policy that CBN is doing, what it means is that all the people that are here will have no excuse not to have accounts at home that they can funnel their monies to legally, clearly, and then there will be no confusion of I sent money and I didn't get as much as. So this is going to be another explosion. In Edo State, like we discussed the last time, Edo State is one of the highest earners of remittances from abroad. Imagine what is going to happen when everybody is able to operate an account locally. So these are some of the little things that are happening behind the scene. Now, the question can be asked, is government doing enough? Again, no, government is not doing enough to highlight some of these things. They are possibly being modest. Maybe they don't have the right machinery. Maybe they don't have the right frame of mind. But what needs to be done is to educate people, to bring them in, to tell them these are the things that are available to you. This is what we are doing, and this is how you can benefit.
Thank you. Well, let's get back to you, Shedrack Udugbai, the priorities of the Renewed Hope agenda. I don't know what you have to say in that regard. And of course, react to all of his.
You know, what Ahmed Omodu is saying is very, very pitiable. You see, he agrees with the fact that Nigerians are struggling, Nigerians are in poverty, the economy is not working. But at the same time, he still stands to defend the cluelessness of the policies that ought to make Nigeria work. You know, this partisan nature of politicians is very petty. He went as far as saying that the national grid collapse should be a thing of new development, that we should be happy, it's a sign of growth. National grid collapse is not good because they are not generating so much that the transmission lines cannot take. And like, it doesn't need me to tell him, or is it today they discover that for them to increase generation, if it's not how to build the infrastructure that will carry distribution of electricity across the nation, doesn't need us rocket science. So they just cluelessly see that the transmission cannot take beyond a certain amount of watts, megawatt, and they go and generate it and put it on the line and it collapse, and they say we should be celebrating that we are not generating more. I don't understand the way they want us to relate with governance. Well, see, I have seen this issue of, I have studied extensively the solution of poverty across the globe, from Asia to Africa. Our government are able to put an end to poverty and hunger. And there is nowhere in the world that poverty reduction has ever been targeted by putting money in the hands of people. I can tell you that for free. What we see in Nigeria today is that they will gather our resources. Today, go and read the last time the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs came out and spoke. He said 419 billion conditional cash transfer have been given to poor people across in the north and in the south. And in the next 2 weeks now, they'll start sharing on that 56 billion. You know, I listen to all these things and I say, is it a country or is it a zoo? Can you be sharing money to people to affect them? That's the other time they have problem with the question. They say, no, bring the children to school and be feeding them. And you see, all of these loopholes the government is doing, why are they? People who claim to be lovers and loyalists of the APC, not criticizing him. How can Modu is in abroad, enjoying good governance in the USA, be telling us, he wants us to practically kill the Nigeria to die totally, the nation should fail, so that we will not be looking up to them as God. They should give them a account number, so that we want to die of hunger, we'll go and beg them. They will not send money for us to survive. So that's exactly what they are preaching, because our member who has not been around for God knows how long he has been in the US, is coming to tell us about the policy that we are suffering and we are lamenting upon, and he wants us to receive it with kid blues. You know, report this morning that USA is now cutting visa ban on Nigerian politicians. It's not that you will go there, they won't give you. The one they've already issued, they will call you your ass, come. You will come. They will, when everything approved, they will stamp deny again. That's what is happening now. Go and ask. Nigerian people complain to Nigeria, but Nigeria refuse to ask or ask in any capacity. They will give you visa, your visa that they give to you to go and travel next 3 months, next 4 months. They will call you, you ask to come. You will come, they will deny you. What was he talking about? Is he not aware that a couple of months ago, about 2 months ago, that in the Canadian, a federal court in Canada declared the APC and PDP a criminal organization? How did he, a criminal organization, a terrorist organization, how did it happen? It was one of our brothers here from Edo State, Douglas Igarewa, who traveled to Canada and decided to seek asylum. While considerations were being made, the judge discovered that Igarewa was formerly a member of Edo State APC. And because the man knows the nature of APC, particularly in Edo State, he said, no, this man is a terrorist because he's a member of Edo State APC before. The question is, what's terrorism? You know, terrorism is, let us be clear. You know, when I gave this story to a couple of my friends, hey, maybe it's because of the Canadian laws. He used the Canadian laws to judge the Nigerian government. That's why I was able to label them as terrorists. But what is terrorism? Terrorism can be defined as the illegitimate use of violence to achieve political or religious objectives. That is the general term. But if you say, okay, how does Nigeria define terrorism? Let us ask, how does Nigeria, if you go to the Nigeria Terrorism Prevention Act of 2022, it says that terrorism is any action targeted that may cause death, serious harm, endangerment in an attempt to coerce, to intimidate the public or to coerce government. It also includes any act of violence against persons, properties, or the destruction of public infrastructure aimed at the purpose of maligning government to ensure that you achieve political, religious, or ideological objectives. If you just oppose that definition of Nigeria's definition of terrorism and put it in APC, Edo APC, the state chairman, any action targeted at death, injury against persons, he came out in public domain to say he will cut his hand if his hand is what will prevent him from delivering 2.5 million votes to Tinubu. If his hand is not enough, he will also cut his neck. Jared Tenebe, the state chairman of Edo APC, came out to say this, what he said, and he used that as a measure of instilling discipline across the rank and file of the party. Let's leave that one. Monday Okpebolo came on ground as governor of Edo State. He went out and he started labeling the house of, he first of all brought the anti-courtism law, does the law, started labeling people's houses, leaders of the political positions as courtists or court-related per se. He said they had meeting in their respective buildings, apartments and hotels. And when these persons felt intimidated, they decamped into the APC. And the same Monday Okpebolo, who had previously labeled them as courtists, brought his entourage and they celebrated and jubilated that this man is now a member of the APC. How can a man in one voice say you are a courtist allegedly, or you are associate of courtism, and in the next voice, in the next swap, he's celebrating you? So those of that should not say that Edo APC is a proper definition of a terrorist organization. That's for the one so you can relate with characters like Jared Tenebe as state chairman, with the policies, actions, and inaction of Monday Okpebolo. Then when the Canadian government comes out to say APC and PDP are terrorist organization, are they right or wrong? Have we not seen the mass deployment of violence? Have we not seen thuggery? Have we not seen fighting? Have we not seen incursion? A couple of months ago, I was in DSS. They called me because we said we went to hold a protest, a rally. Not protest, a rally. And we answered questions, we discovered. Perhaps the man was a bit more civil. That was because we cannot gather in Edo State for political reasons anymore. The opposition, they've threatened that we see any poster anywhere, then you say these people are not terrorists. So when they are saying all of these things, the APC, all this, when people are defending the APC recklessly, they come out in public domain. Because I feel they want us to really die, because they feel that where we are now is not bad enough. Where Nigeria today has the largest number of people living without electricity in the world. Nigeria today is the headquarter of poverty. Nigeria today has the highest level of unemployment. Nigeria today is home to insecurity. What indices of government has Bola Ahmed Tinubu done that members of the APC will come out in public domain to start to support the man and begin to churn out ruthless and baseless statistics for us to shop? Are we stupid?
I know you still have the floor, but looking at the opposition now, which you are representing, as regards what has been happening, before APC came into power, we had the PDP. Was it well?
Was it this bad?
The
question is, it may not have been well. You could have been failing, but you could be failing forward.
And good enough. I like the point where you recognize the fact that even when the Canadian government, declared that APC was a terrorist organization, you didn't exclude the PDP. You also mentioned it, that it also included the PDP. So which means this two political parties could be the country's headache.
Yes, they've done some actions in time. The People's Democratic Party have done some actions in time past that may be inimical to the growth and development of Nigerian democracy. That's to say one or two of the characters. But perhaps that didn't stop Wilokebele Jonathan when he lost to say he had lost. That didn't stop INEC from doing his job. That didn't stop the Nigerian judiciary from giving judgment that was a reflection of justice. When Bola Ahmed Tinubu came on office, the first thing he did was more offense subsidy. What's the second thing he did? He increased the judges' salaries with 300%. That is a judge that is receiving 2 million, started receiving 8 million in less than 2 weeks of the arrival of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That's to tell you the kind of and Wike started building houses.
What do you
for
think?
them,
What do you think motivated this?
That's an inducement to favor the ruling class, to favor the government. Today we see all manner of judgment coming out from the court. We see the judge will open their eyes. They will see the legality of the matter. They will focus on the trivialities. They will go and be looking for technicalities just to skew judgment to the favor of the political elites, the political leaders and masters. We saw what happened today when they say Fubara, get out of office, so administrator. See, we can't even begin to mention Tinubu as a democratic governor. Tinubu has failed woefully by all terms of democracy. Tinubu is worse than any Nigerian, any dictator we've ever had since the turn of democracy in Nigeria. General Sani Abacha, I dare say, was better than this Bola Ahmed Tinubu we are seeing today. In terms of infrastructural development, in terms of the economic policy, in terms of at least the rule of law that was said to be dead is even deader now, if there's a word like that. More dead now than it was in the time of the military and the people could protest. Can anybody protest now? Come out and protest for first subsidy. You protest. You say anybody protest. Everybody knows they cannot. Not that the man is a military man, but the man has dangerous military dictatorial tendencies that we use to hound and intimidate your president. I don't want to even be calling say Shadaki Boy as the opposition. Do I need to be opposition to know the truth? Do I need to be in APC and ADC for me to now know that Nigerians are suffering? Do I need to be in opposition for me to criticize what the government is? So when you label it opposition, it makes it look as though that I'm being polarized. There's always me against them. The challenge is that we are in a precarious position now. Nigerians is at the brink. And if this man continues with the structures we are seeing on ground, he's willing and ready to design a system that will make him the leader politically and economically of Nigeria for the generations to come, just the way he did in Lagos. In Lagos State today, there's no opposition. People in APDP gather together to say they are supporting Tinubu. How can a party, your major opposition party in your state, gather to say they are not supporting? Because that's shows the level of intimidation that taking place behind there. The ADC went to hold a rally. Jadon, the one who ran as a Labour Party candidate in the last 2023 election. They destroyed the vehicles, they beat people, manhandled them. The venue that was approved for him, APC took the venue and went to hold their rally there, same time, same venue. And they issued the place they issued, he now went to secure the next venue, they went there and they manhandled them. Is that the kind of politics we want to now project in Nigeria? I look at all of these people in the north and I tell them, I see, if the average northerner know what's good for them, the people in Nigeria don't know what's coming because we in Edo, we are feeling it. Because we saw when Bola Ahmed Tinubu became president, the way he broke down the infrastructures of governance, the way he disrupted the electoral process that made us have a governor today that we cannot say we are proud of. That is to say, if Tinubu continues in that trajectory to bring in his cronies, his surrogates, his allies, and yes men to become governors in different states on an attempt to hold through of the system, what will not be of Nigeria when the top is rotting and decaying, the middle is rotting and decaying, the local government is total comatose and destruction? Right. What will not recourse to? If the federal government is sick, the state government is sick, local government is sick. And that is the system that Bola Ahmed Tinubu has instituted. Yes, there's no way for Nigeria. That's what I mean. I tell them that, see, very soon, if you say Tinubu must continue because it's Satana, this pain will spread around. You can very certain that nothing good can come out of a political contraction called the APC. In the modes and methods and which they choose and select leaders, nothing good can come out because they do not focus on competence. They look for the person who can say, yes, sir, we love you. Anything the leader say, whatever the leader say. People are saying, Pueblo for 10 years. Somebody has not done 2 years. You are saying you want to give me 10 tenure. Making sort of baseless and not democratic statement because it serves your interest. Because they are in line, they are not tapping from mainstream resources of government. So when I say all this is, I laugh and I say, well, as they keep saying, the thing will go round. Very soon, we saw what Olusegun Obasanjo was saying when he was not old. He was not saying where it's going, he has very few years left on the surface of the earth. Then he wants to struggle hard for ensure that Nigeria works. I say, look at you. You that you are not close to your grave. It's now you're not thinking of making Nigeria work. When you had the opportunity to make Nigeria work, what are you doing? All these people will still regret. It's not Baghdad that came out there started writing book and saying he was sorry, he did this, sorry. They will keep regretting at their prime minister. Now they have opportunities to create change and to implement it. They say no. They want to eat and destroy the system. When they get old now, they'll start regretting and lamenting. Very soon, Tinubu will still come out and start lamenting.
Let's get back to you, Ahmed Momodu. Now, we have some precarious situation on our hands. Most especially as even the governor of Edo State has promised 2.5 million votes for the president come 2027. Well, some have said that though we don't know how the governor is going to get this right. But you spoke about subnational government and the challenges that bedevils the people and what the subnational government should also do. You know, the fuel subsidy removal brought about increase in revenue allocation to the states. Outside the security votes that is humongous, they also have a very big share of what they get from the federal government. Now, what is the Edo State government doing about what it gets? Now, let's juxtapose this with the challenges facing the people of the country, and of course, Edolites in particular. What do you have to say as regards the economy?
Thank you, Philip. I will address your question, but let me quickly correct some of the falsehoods because it is incumbent upon us, the so-called elite, to be able to tell the truth to the people. Now, in the judgment that a local man was talking about, it was not APC that was mentioned. Google is your friend. If you don't know how to use Google, ask Philip, he will show you. It was PDP, the member of your party, who went and wanted asylum in Canada. And then the Canadian judge said that PDP is acting as an immoral organization. He never even used the term terrorist. That is a fabrication of your mind. But it tells the state of mind that you are in. The question that he asked you had to do with something else. You were talking about terrorism. You are talking about, look, let us also address the fact that whether you like it or not, last year, the people of Edo State overwhelmingly came out and chose Governor Monday Okpebholo to lead them for the next 8 years. So the pain you are suffering is going to last for at least another 3 years. If you are talking about Agberu and terrorism, from your definition of terrorism, I like it. Governor Obaseki is the definition of a terrorist Agberu. For 4 years, he sat without a House of Assembly. You said that's one of the reasons, the definitions of terrorism. Another definition is damaging public property. He went and destroyed the State House of Assembly. They didn't have anywhere to sit. He was constantly terrorizing the people of Edo State, using all of the resources of Edo State as a business, and now Edo State is completely broke. And you have the audacity and temerity to come and talk about an administration that is trying to right the wrongs of the low-cost 8 years that we have spent, and God will forbid we ever see such a character again. Osiomo is grounded because they spent so much money, and now we find out that all the money is in Obaseki's pocket. Even the hotel that he built, that's another. For 8 years, him and his ilk held down the state while they were raping it. That's what has happened. And whether you like it or not, the people of Edo State came out and said, we want Governor Monday Okpebholo to lead us for 4 years, God willing, another 4 years after that. The House of Assembly demolished. There was bombing of opponents. There was terrorism of the Oba. The Oba said they kept his money. They kept his money for 9 months. The man terrorized even his deputy governor. And you have the temerity to come here and talk about terrorism. Let us address issues. Now,
you still have the floor, but I asked you a question. And I don't want you to turn it into the Obaseki's problem, with the Monday Okpebholo's issues. Now, Obaseki is no longer the governor of Edo State. Senator Monday Okpebholo is the governor. And I asked you a simple question as regards what the state governor is doing with the monies being allocated to the state. Because we have a challenge where we need to build the economy, not just of the country generally, but look into the states, look into the subnational government, look into the treasury, and look into the deployment of these monies being received for projects, and to ensure that these projects are well monitored to the benefit of the people. That's what I asked you, please. If you can just go straight to the question.
Let me go straight to the question, and let me point out that I find it very, very wrong that you did not interrupt Shedrack when he went on his diatribe and he was casting aspersion on all of the APC and so on and so forth. You did not once interrupt him. Now you are interrupting me and asking me. That's fine. The question you asked is, what is the subnational government doing about the excess funds that they are receiving? Now, Governor Monday Okpebholo has made it very clear that one of his priorities is to secure the state and to drive investment. You've seen his activities as regards securing the state. He has bought and distributed several vehicles to security agencies, including motorcycles recently, and then infrastructural development. Infrastructural development to the extent that most of the infrastructure in Edo has collapsed in the last 8 years. So he now has the challenge of rebuilding it. The last administration treated not even Edo as a place, they treated Benin as the whole of Edo. Even the Benin, the road that leads to Obaseki's house was not is in a state of disrepair. So Governor Monday Okpebholo is not only handling that, he's handling even the backlog. Look at, if you read the news, I'm sure you read it. I saw it in your news highlight the other time. They are trying to pay the backlog of people who have not been paid their pensions in the last 3-4 years. In excess of, I think it was 75 billion or something like that you mentioned. So the challenges are much. And in the midst of this much, the resources are limited and scarce. What is he doing? He's channeling it into the areas that need urgent care. One of those urgent cares, he has told you that he's going to give out loans to students. He's going to give out as much as possible loans to even the farmers. They've bought in tractors and they've done so. The fact that some of these things are not as highlighted as they are does not mean that nothing is being done. The administration is facing so many challenges of all of the debts and all the pilfering and all the stealing of the past administration. Some of these things will take time to address, and in the addressing them, you will see progress. Edo is shining and Edo is rising. Edo first and Edo always. That's what our new motto is. So don't let our people don't be distracted by some of these petty things that they come out and see this left, right, and that. The administration is doing its best to channel all of the resources that it's getting from the government into some of these areas. Let me give you another thing that will surprise you. A lot of what has been done just not includes the revenue. We are talking about security votes. The money that has been put for security. Where was the money that was used for security? Security votes for the last 8 years. Where did it go? What was it channeled to? Look at the scandal in Osiyomo power plant. How much is owed? What is the status? How much does Edo State owe in that? There's so much that is rotting in the system and needs to be cleaned out. Let us
thank you so much, Ahmed. I'm afraid I have to cut in again, but it's not to stop you from speaking your mind, but just to make sure that I guide the conversation. Like I said earlier, it's not about Obaseki. It's about the governor of Edo State. And but thank you for sharing your thoughts in this light. We're going to be looking at subsequently. We're going to tear into pieces, projects in Edo State and how the Senator Monday Okpebholo's administration is faring on these projects. We're going to be bringing that your way, next week. And I believe you will also be part of this conversation, Ahmed Momodu. But let's get your thoughts on close as we take a round off. On this.
My brother Momodu quickly dived into Monday Okpebholo. Monday Okpebholo is a subject for like 2 days. It's never one day. One day will not be enough to dissect the inadequacy, the cluelessness and ineptitude that has occurred in this government in the last 10 months.
No, that's your opinion, not the opinion of the station.
I said, if you look at
but I will expect you to be objective.
I'm objective, honestly. If these things I say, I will wag them with facts.
What projects don't you like about the Senator Monday Okpebholo's administration?
All the things he has done, there have been question marks, all of them. He's fighting insecurity. I saw them that there's question marks. When he bought 50 lots and was sharing it to security, I came here, I told you that thing cannot solve insecurity. That is mainly a gift being handed over to political officials for the role they played in the rigging him into office. That was why I said they will carry the motor and keep it there. As when they are retiring, they'll take it to their villages. I've seen it happen before. To how many of those vehicles were able to fight? As he bought those vehicles, crime and criminality increased. I went on an interview with Adaze Nwata, who came on air national television and said that people have solved their insecurity. The next early morning, kidnappers went to kidnap Edo Line 003. What are we talking about? We kids? When the people went to bet Okada, I don't know. Did they use Okada to fight crime and criminality? See, let's leave there. For Ahmed Momodu, who only listens to Opera News, he's in Hamburg. He does not read national dailies. He listens to Opera News and those small crooked messages sent on their WhatsApp group. Anybody who says, after these 10 months, I dare say it's only someone that God forgot to give brain that will say that Okpebholo is better than Godwin Obaseki. But I see that a man is still lost in the past.
Okay, but a quick one. You still have the floor. A quick one, like what Ahmed Momodu was trying to talk about as regards the backlog of salaries being owed. College of Education, Igweben. Reports have it.
No, what happened?
The state government have paid about over 1 billion naira already. No, and this were as a result of the former governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, not passing up to this. So I think you should appreciate this development.
Development of what? You are paying people that didn't work. You say, were they working? Was the school functioning? All of those people Obaseki came and stopped the school from working and say, which institution cannot function?
Good enough you said Obaseki stopped it.
Yes. Is it not a public domain?
Without paying salaries?
No, listen to me. You don't work, you want to be paid. Where is it? Where does that happen? you ask him, were they going to work? Who were they teaching at that period? Well, the value. They were protesting recklessly. We saw the protest. And Obasanjo said they did not work. He told them that even when this other one happened, the similar thing also happened in the clarification, the one at Ekadolo. And they asked them, this school had been handed over to federal government. Go and reapply so that we take you.
All right, thank you. All right.
There are many issues that will be solved on the problem. But let us not be guided, because as we are here today, everybody knows the reality. You can come and lie on television, show statistics, drop figures, defend, go to past government, talk about
thank you, Shadrach.
But the future, the reality is on ground, and we'll keep saying it.
Thank you, Shadrach. So much to talk about, and big thanks for taking part of this discussion. Take a short break. Do stay. Thank you for staying on as we engage our discussions with the last lap of the question. And over to you, Ahmed Momodu. Well, this is just a digression. We know we've been on the impact of the Renewed Hope agenda, but let's visit home. Let's visit Edo State. And we understand there is so much that we can talk about in terms of actually accounting for security votes. And we understand the fact that, the governor of Edo State has done, much in the areas of, giving vehicles, motorcycles, in order to keep security of the state. But I want your thoughts alongside what should be the governor's focus in ameliorating the plight of, the Edo people, looking at the economy, looking at how to, subsidize or give some aid, to the citizens of the state.
Thank you, Philip. Let us talk about security. Fortunately, being an ex-military man, that's one of my own fortes. So, to understand what a security architecture is, there are several elements of security. The most important element to guard at any time is what is known as a soft target. Now, soft targets are assets that can easily be attacked by either insurgents or bandits or robbers and made nonsense of. For example, when Shadrach mentioned that Edo line was attacked, and that's a soft target. So when you look at the infrastructure, the security infrastructure of Edo State, what he doesn't understand is that you have to create continuous assessment of threats. When you have a motorbike, it allows you to access places that a vehicle will not easily access. So if, for example, you are chasing bandits and you get to a forest, a vehicle is not going to be able to do it. If he had any sort of security knowledge, rather than laugh at it, he would say, thank you to the governor for thinking of a point where vehicles will not get to. If possible, it is even better to even buy bicycles, so that where even motorbikes cannot go, security agents can chase down on bicycles. Because you are ignorant of something doesn't mean you should laugh at it. What is incumbent on you is to ask for education on the matter. So those Hiluxes that you see that he gave out, yes, Obaseki's Hiluxes, he used them and gave out to his own cronies. But Okpebholo is not going to do that. We have 4 more years to look after the security of Edo State people. And for the next 4 years, you are going to see those Hiluxes traversing the length and breadth of Edo, trying to secure the lives and properties of people. Where the vehicles cannot go, the motorbikes will carry on. Where motorbikes cannot go, we are going to now buy bicycles so that bicycles can get to those places. Then you even have something more to laugh at. Now, to answer the question that you asked, Philip, I'm sorry, can you repeat that question again? I completely digressed, and forgive me for missing the point entirely.
In as much as we see what the governor is doing as regards tackling insecurity, but we want to also see efforts of the government, in ameliorating the plight of the citizens or the people of Edo State.
So what you have seen,
looking at the economy, looking at the economic perspective of how to ameliorate the plights of the people, making sure that issues surrounding how to reduce the hardship, or how to roll in palliatives, or how to make sure that they are able to breathe, in terms of cutting down of food prices, and of course farm produce, giving subsidy to farmers and all of that. You know what I'm talking about, because you spoke about massive subsidies being enjoyed by the American people, and Shouldn't we have a replicate of that in Edo State?
Yes, Edo State, the administration of Governor Okpebholo has focused primarily on, first of all, infrastructural development. Infrastructural development in the sense that because you are building an economy pretty much from scratch, where infrastructure was almost completely neglected in the last administration, you have to be able to move goods and services from place to place smoothly and at lower cost. That's one part of it. The second part, like we already highlighted and you pointed out, is security. You have to be able to move security personnel around to be able to secure the lives and property of the people that live around in whatever nook and cranny it is. I mean, he did how many trucks? In my own opinion, he tried, but he needs to do more. They need to get more trucks. They need to get more motorbikes. And we're talking. You also mentioned agriculture. You saw when he went ahead and commissioned agricultural farm produce. That's just a drop in the bucket. So much more needs to be done. We need to get into a seasonal section where even the government will now give not just subsidies in form of what's that thing? Manure, fertilizer and stuff like that, and then help them to till the land, and then when the time comes around to harvest, so that gradually, Edo State is an agrarian area, to continue to build on that so that people can now find other forms of living. Now, if you move away from Benin and you move all to the other rural areas, you will find that the cost of living is much reduced in those areas. The government has to focus on how to make people more interested in staying in those areas. For example, if you use Auchi, if you go to all these other places, and you find that you can build centers around where our population, our teeming youth can gather and be productive, and then reduce some of the pressure on urban areas like Benin, you will see that some of these things will grow and will be able to continue to be the food basket of the nation, not just because Edo is a terminal point and a passing point where you use to go to the rest of the country, either as you are going to the north or to the east or wherever. We need to keep on focusing on how to build value chains along those lines to make our people independent and self-sufficient so that they will be able to produce for themselves and the economy will grow in that manner.
It favors the economy.
Yes, there's no economy without security, because the basic requirements for business and livelihood to transfer is that there must be a safe environment, because security is the most important aspect of governance. Before you move to welfare, security first is primal and is integral. Well, I also, my brother, many of the things he says, he's not in those states. He's not even in Nigeria. So, whereby he can manage to defend federal Tinubu and the federal policies, he can't stand when it comes to, he can't stand.
But he's abreast of what is happening.
He's abreast when he's talking about that we are still seeing the vehicles, security vehicles around. Someone in the US is telling you that he's still seeing the vehicles, security vehicles that Mother Babulu brought around. While me, the local man who is always on ground, they are telling me, where are they? Have you seen? The thing is that when people make wrong decisions in government and you advise them, and they say, no, because you're opposition, you are not saying you don't have sense, and they give you those kind of baseless excuses, they end up suffering the impact of their wrong decisions. When Motopebolo was buying those vehicles, I said it explicitly. I said, no, this is not the way to go. The nature of crime that we have in Edo State, they are rural. And for the fact that these crimes are rural, they are taking place in the nooks and crannies state in hard-to-reach areas like Ovia Northeast, Onwa East, Esako, in Uromi, Ekpoma. Those are the areas. It's not happening within already, but Waka Ego.
So are you saying the vehicles are not being driven?
No, I said that those are where the majority of the crimes, the insurgency, this security issue is coming from. We need to rework and reposition our local vigilante squad, because when you give somebody the responsibility of providing security in his community, the thing goes beyond the issue, the oath of office you engage to. So he sees that work as his personal objective. He is connected to the land. He's connected to the people. So when he hears that somebody came and shot one of their chief's daughter, it for him is personal, because he knows the people who are suffering from the crime and criminality environment. So mobilizing a local vigilante team, empowering them, training them, motivating them to serve. They may have their guns which will not be sophisticated enough to match some of those Fulani headers, but perhaps they're able to gather information and escalate it to the necessary appropriates. How many policemen have you seen since they started school that is entered the bush shooting go? A police, they don't do it, they don't go. They stay in their offices and they tell you when it's over, they go and begin to do tracking. These local vigilantes, they have the capacity. Many of them are local hunters. They have the mind and the courage because they even know the forest. They can go in. Monday Okpebolo came on board, he disbanded all the security apparatus from the vigilante to the security network to the police constabulary, dismantled all of them. They had leadership crisis. For the first time I saw vigilante protesting inside the Nye government house. And I said, this is not the way to go. You have to organize these people, motivate them, and provide them. Today, if you look at the vigilante in Edo State, they have left the bushes and the communities. They are now mounting roadblock with police officers. They are the one collecting, begging for money in the streets. There are now new checkpoints in every nooks and cranny. They are begging for money. Honorable, buy us water, buy us this. Now, I see them every single day. And I say, this was the same vigilante that Obaseki organized, took to Lagos to train. In the Okita barrack, they were giving maintenance training. They were sewing uniforms so that they can engage in fighting crime and information gathering. I'm going to do that one. No? When he got it over, because he saw over 60 billion in the account, when he's speaking about he saw over 60 billion. He was buying vehicle. He bought Prado and Ilos, share for workers. He bought a Lexus. He saw the Lexus 570 that Obaseki was using. He took it and dashed it to one of his political cronies. He went to buy a Lexus 600 LX. 600 LX was 450 million. He drove down up to 3 months. He went to buy this G-Wagon, a bulletproof G-Wagon, $1.2 million. He has been buying vehicle anyhow, flying private jets recklessly everywhere. After that, he bought Ilos, shared to political officers that there is, Mokpebolo has 26 commissioners. 26 of them have Prado, all of them have Hilos, all of them have police attachments. Well, which is not government money, it's not bulk of government money. All those money is deployed on political. All the boards in Edo State are feed. He's even now creating tables, committee, subcommittee, packing his cronies because for him, he has to satisfy everybody that helped him become governor. Because he does not believe that it's the people who made him governor. See, he's not serving the people, he's serving people who worked for him. Let us go there. It's the people who worked for him, members of the APC. Now, Monday Okpebolo is serving and servicing. He's not servicing them because they had little or no impact in his emergency office.
But are you saying that government functionaries don't need vehicles to function?
26. As every a state of 18 local government, there's a local government today, they have 2 special advisors. So local government, they have 2 commissioners. On what basis do you want to justify such focus and bloated appointments? When Monday Okpebolo bought those vehicles, I said this is not the way to go. He bought about 50 vehicles and he gifted them to this police vehicle. I said the only thing that vehicle do is to increase the working relationship between the heads of security agencies with the government. Thank you. So that when they shoot, when governors say there's one crime that happened here.
Thank you, Shadrach. Thank you, Shadrach. Big thanks for taking our time to be part of this discussion. And big thanks, Ahmed Mabado, for also taking time to be a part of this.